Is it possible to avoid burnout?
Definitely not, but also kind of yes. Let's talk about it. So I'm going to talk to you about a few different ways that I avoid burnout as the leading expert of someone who gets burned out. There's no conclusive way to avoid burnout. I don't think it's possible to. However, there are a lot of ways you can mitigate it and find it so it's more of a balance than it is a detrimental thing that happens to you. Getting burned out means that you're not listening to the warning signs of when you're feeling exhausted. Creative work isn't linear, and you're not always going to be inspired. But the moments that you do feel inspired, you have an obligation to act on. And the moments that you're not, you have an obligation to rest. Set boundaries with yourself by creating. If you're going to be making films or art or working on projects or you're working independently, you have to be able to chunk out your work. If your project hinges off of you getting it done all at once, you're almost certainly going to fail. Having clear expectations of success, having reasonable moments of failure, and being okay with that is so important. It's important to set clear boundaries with yourself of what's a reasonable goal and what's an ambitious one. Nothing wrong with ambitious goals. Make sure you know what's reasonable and what's ambitious. Another important way to avoid burnout is to have something else going on. Having other places to go, whether it's a sports team to root for, or a hobby, or yoga, or helping your body. These are important things. They're escapes. So when things aren't working in one part of your life, you can work on something else. The reasons that I have been burned out the most in my life have been because I haven't listened to myself when things have not been working out. You cannot act through brute force to break through the barriers in your mind. You can do that sometimes, but if you always do that, you are punishing yourself for your own nature. The time I was the most burned out was last summer. I wanted to write and direct my first ever feature, and I wrote a 60-page script. I wrote it in 3 weeks, which is a really ambitious timeline, but I somehow pulled it off. The goal was to make the feature film with my two best friends as the two lead actors. When the script was done and it got into conversations of when we'd film, one of my friends could not lock himself down for a few days, and the project seemed impossible. I was devastated. I really did not have the energy to find another actor. I decided that it was better to take the win in writing the script than mellow on the loss of not making the film. Now, I have had a lot of attempts to create things that are way above my means at the moment, and I've failed. And those failures have taken me out of commission for far longer than they should have. The lesson isn't to not be ambitious. The lesson is to understand when you're being too ambitious. Having the ability to articulate the problems of whatever endeavor you're dealing with is so important. If you can vocalize the issue, then you can isolate it. A quote that I love is, "A problem stated is a problem half solved." I think one really important skill is to be able to forgive yourself. A lot of times you're gonna make mistakes, you're going to miss things, and you're not gonna hit deadline. And that's okay. Nothing's perfect, no one's perfect, and you have to love your imperfections. So rather than try to be perfect, try to never make a mistake, and to hate yourself every time you do, forgive, learn, and move on. Community is a very important part of overcoming these hurdles. Having people you can go to bounce ideas off of, talk through your problems, and express when you're uncomfortable or frustrated. Focus a little bit less on solving everything on your own. Focus a little bit more on solving it with the team. It takes a village. Try to work through your problems before your problems work through you. I hope this was helpful, and I'll see you guys next week.